Hi, this is Eric from longboxreview.com. It is Sunday, July 22nd, 2018, and this is Breaking Late News, late July 2018 edition. And of course, I am joined, as always, by my good friend and fellow comic book aficionado, lover. Maybe I shouldn't use that word. Lover of comic books is what I mean.
There you go.
So no one's confused. Travis. Hey, Travis, how you doing?
Not too bad. How's it going?
Yeah, it's not bad, not bad, not bad comic book wise. I've had an interesting weekend as we were talking before we started recording, but yeah, the stuff of nightmares in one case. Won't get into that unless people follow me on Twitter. Something I posted late the previous evening, but yeah, there you go. I won't go into detail here. That's not the appropriate.
Kill it with fire. Kill it with fire. Yes.
Okay. Anyway, like I said, as always, Travis has joined me here on Google Hangouts to discuss live the comic book news from about the last, almost 2 months. We were trying to do this monthly, but life gets in the way, and oh well. But besides the stuff from the last 2 months, this is also the weekend of the great and wonderful San Diego Comic-Con. So we're gonna talk about some news coming out of that. So there you go. We'll probably end with that and some other things. And I forgot to press the record button on my backup recorder. So I'm off to a great start already. Totally missed all that, all the introduction there. Anyway, that doesn't matter. So anyway, Travis, how you doing?
Good.
How's comics for you?
Comics are good. Comics are good. Oh well, it's as per usual for me. Actually, it's a mixed bag, but we'll get into some of what that mixed bag is when you start talking about some of the stuff out of San Diego Comic-Con and whatnot. But my personal comic booking is excellent, though. I've been reading lots of good books. Lots of good books.
Yeah. All right. So, like I said, Travis and I have a bunch of things that we're going to talk about. We'll get to that in just 1 second. I do want to let's let Travis. It's down on the list there, but let's just talk about this. A couple literary giants have left us. Let's talk about those first. First of all, he's done comics. Most recently, an adaptation of one of his Star Trek stories. Harlan Ellison died in the last month or so, which is, I I don't know how much I can't make or I can't give him his due as someone commenting about his death, because the guy was just like I said, literary giant. I loved his stuff. I know he could be kind of a prickly SOB at times, but man, could the guy write, and he had such passion for the word and for story. And as a former writer, as I like to say myself, story for me is king, and he was definitely a king of stories.
Yeah, and I know you. Yeah, and he influences all. I mean, if you're into any geeky kind of stuff too, he has, such influence across a lot of that stuff and whatnot. That, yeah, and him being prickly, I don't know, that just adds to the character that he was. And as comic book fans, he was a comic book fan. Comic books were a real thing, as far as he was concerned and whatnot. And I appreciate people who have a career that that doesn't need comic books and doesn't need all of that and whatnot, but still pays its due respect as being an avenue to tell stories and whatnot. So yeah.
And I remember, actually, this is a direct connection with you, Travis. I'd go over to your house occasionally, and I'd always be jealous of, you had a collection of Ellison's work. I have a collection of his short stories, I believe. I can't remember the name of it. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yes, and I can't remember the name of it offhand
Yeah,
either. So
I should have looked this up. I know, but
right.
I always wanted to steal that.
Oh, nice.
Just like Travis isn't going to miss this. But that just means, you know, I just need to instead of borrowing the book from you, as I've in the back of my head whenever we talk, I sometimes think about that, and I think I should ask Travis if I could borrow that book. I should just go buy the damn book. Go buy Harlan Ellison's work, people, because
There you
it's
go.
you know you be entertained at the very
Yep.
least. And then, but directly related to comic books, the great Steve Ditko has also died.
Right.
Co-creator of Spider-Man, um, the Creeper, Hawk and Dove. You know,
Yeah.
I love Hawk and Dove, and it's really funny because I actually just in the last couple months I read the Silver Age trade collection that DC put out, and so that was the first time that I'd read all of those issues, those first 6 issues of Hawk and Dove from the late '60s. That in part that Steve Ditko worked on, you know, because I think he came up with the concept, the characters, and did I want to say the first couple issues, maybe the first three. I don't remember right now. Before I understand he had some creative differences with the people at DC also working on the book, and so I think he kind of walked away from that. I might be wrong about that. So you know, if people if people know the real story there, and I'm just shoveling apocrypha, then and you know, let me know. But you know, I know you, Travis. You're a huge Spider-Man fan, or at least you were
I was. Yeah,
in years
not so much
past.
now,
So,
but yeah, definitely.
how does Ditko's passing impact you?
Well, I mean, you know, the guy was still producing. I mean,
Hmm.
like he probably has work sitting on a desk somewhere right now. I would assume. You know, he's continuously producing stuff. To me, that's impressive in its own right. That he was somebody that I mean, I can't remember how old he was, but
90 something, I believe.
right. So his health never reached a point where he couldn't do the work anymore. Because there are a lot of other creators in my mind that are great creators that somewhere along the way some part of their health went, you know, their eyes go, they can't see as well, you know, that as an artist, you know, that starts to cripple what you know you can and can't do and whatnot. And if he had those issues, he found ways around it and whatnot. I don't, you know, the weird thing is I don't know how big of a fan I am of his direct work, but what he helped create is such a huge. I mean, there's some of my. I love those characters. I love the Creeper. I love A Shade the Changing Man. It's just that stuff's all attached to stuff that ended up becoming, you know, bigger, great things. You know, Doctor Strange of all of his, you know, funky finger locks and whatnot for, you know, for his casting. That's Ditko stuff and whatnot. That's all, you know, that's just great stuff, you know, and you know, Spider-Man's amazing character, clearly iconic. You know, argument as to who did what, as per usual when it comes to Stan attached to anything in Marvel during that era. But yeah, just amazing kind of things, and somebody who basically wanted to do their own thing, and I appreciate that as a creative person. I just like the idea that, you know, he wanted to do things his own way, and once he decided it was nonsense, he moved on, you know, to whatever else he wanted to do and whatnot. Um, you know, people talk about him being recluse and whatnot, but he clearly wasn't that much of a recluse, because there wouldn't be as many stories about the guy if he was really truly what people kind of, you know, implied that he was. That wasn't the case, you know.
I always thought of him as the Pynchon of the comic book realm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, you know, hopefully he knew all the way along just how much all of us comic book fans appreciated the stuff that he created. I hope that was there, and I hope he appreciated that and he liked that in whatever way and fashion that worked for him. You know, I know, like I said, I know he wasn't into the raving fanboy stuff, but you know, at least, like I said, I hope he knows how much that we enjoyed the stuff that he produced and will clearly continue to enjoy the stuff that he created in the first place. So, yeah.
Yeah. So our condolences to their families. It's a shame when we lose such great talent like that. So I guess I would. So normally here I would say, this is where people should make sure that when you have the opportunity to thank these people for the work that they have given you, for your enjoyment of their work. But I also know that in Ellison's case specifically, I read this letter that he wrote in response to someone who sent him a letter doing exactly that, and basically his response was, "Why are you wasting my time?" It was very cute. But anyway, I still think that's a good idea, regardless. Okay. On to less sober things. First up in our Breaking Late News report is, since we talked about this on the last one, so, Travis, if we wait long enough between these episodes, then the stuff comes back to talk about for a future episodes. And this is a couple of them. We I think last time we talked about our perception of the demise of Vertigo, the DC imprint, and not long after I released that episode, we get the announcement that they're bringing back or they're basically Vertigo's relaunching essentially, right? And I believe it's under the editorship of, I want to say is it Mark or Mike Doyle? Mark Doyle, right? Yeah. And so the Sandman universe stuff is under Vertigo, right? It has to be.
Yes.
I don't know why I'm doubting that when I say it, but there's that, and there's a bunch of other things that are coming as well. I don't remember offhand what specifically anything that jumped out at me regarding the new Vertigo titles that are coming. And I don't know that we actually have anything really to talk. I think there was some stuff talked about during San Diego, but I forgot to I think write that down. Doing such a good job at this news report thing.
Well, but they announced like 6 or 7 books beyond the Sandman stuff.
That's what I thought. Okay, yeah.
Because the last time we had talked, it was like the Sandman stuff. That's all there was. I mean, when I ordered my comics, there were no Vertigo comics to order other than the Sandman. There was nothing.
Right.
And we were like, man, so it's just Vertigo's just going to be the Sandman imprint, and that's going to be it, kind of thing. And then, 3 weeks later, they started announcing stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for refreshing my memory there. As you were talking, I was going to try because I have links to this stuff that I forgot to open before the show. It's been a busy Sunday for me, folks. So I apologize. We obviously we talked about it last time that it's too bad that Vertigo seemed to have been abandoned by the company. So I assume that you're happy with this news, potentially happy. I mean, it depends on what the books are and who's behind them and that kind of stuff, right?
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I'm excited for it because I still believe in what Vertigo did, and I think it can continue to do that. I believe that some of the stuff is written by people that I would not. It's not the usuals, and when I say the usuals, so it's not the people that DC has under contract and they want to write something else. So it's not Joshua Williams, it's not Scott Snyder. Not to have a problem with any of those people, but to some degree, it's felt like I want to write something besides the Flash or Superman or whatever. This is a dumping ground for whatever other story that the contracted writers, they can go someplace to write, and they're still under DC, and so they're still under contract or whatever. It's how it's kind of felt lately. And I believe that a lot of the books that are coming out, it's not that the people haven't worked for DC, but they're not like they're star contract writers. They've gathered people together to, I believe, to produce the works that are coming out. So it's not like I don't think they're trying to See, for me, here's the difference between Vertigo, like let's say, and now what seems to be the giant of independent comics, Image. And it is with Vertigo, the editors worked really hard to find creative teams to make all those great books that were out during the heyday of Vertigo. It was the editors. It was Berger and Bond and whatnot. They were gathering the people up that they needed to make the books. Some creative force had an idea, and then they gathered the other people to make that and whatnot. Whereas Image, there's not that. It's the creators themselves have come together to make whatever. And I think that the Vertigo stuff that's coming out is still going to be more along that lines, in that it's editor driven to get the right talent together to make these books.
Right. Yeah. And you're right. So I just looked it up, and yeah, there were 7 new Vertigo titles that were announced. Border Town by Eric Esquivel and Ramon Villalobos. Hex Wives, which actually I had written down for our notes for San Diego, I think, because it sounded really interesting. So they talked about it some more, I guess. And I guess I've forgotten. I know I'd forgotten about this in terms of the Vertigo announcement. This is by Ben Blacker and Mirka Andolfo. American Carnage, writer Brian Hill, art by Leandro Fernandez. Goddess Mode by Zoe Quinn and Robbie Rodriguez. High Level, Rob Sheridan and Barnaby Bagenda. Safe Sex, Tina Horn and Mike Dowling. And Second Coming, which is the other book besides Hex Wives that I noted in my San Diego notes, because they talked about, or at least not necessarily in my notes for this episode, but in my review of all the news coming out of San Diego up to this point, this was one of the books that caught my attention. Second Coming by Mark Russell from the Flintstones, which is one of my favorite miniseries from last year, I believe. And art by Richard Pace. It's an interesting concept. So anyway, yeah, 7 new books plus the Sandman Universe titles. There are 3 of those, right?
At least.
Yeah, 3 so far.
Right.
Why do I want to say 4? Maybe I'm thinking of the one shot that launches it. Anyway. So yeah, there you go. There's a bunch of new Vertigo stuff. So back with a bang, I guess. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm really curious what the reception will be for these new books and Vertigo as a whole, because it's really lost steam in the last.
They all seem like limited series, though.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's their way of testing the waters, testing interest. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a bad thing that they're doing miniseries initially? If that's the case,
I don't know if it's a bad thing. I mean, I like the long ongoing
stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
well, you are a diehard Hellblazer fan, so 300 issues.
Yep, I am.
300 issues plus all the attached miniseries and spin-offs and whatever else.
Yep.
Did you ever? I'm go off on a tangent. Did you get all or nearly all of the tie-in spin-offs, whatever Hellblazer stuff? Or,
no, I don't have.
It just depend on what it was and who was behind it.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't have all of it yet. I mean, at some point, it's those kind of things. If I find it in the cheap bin somewhere, if it's ones I don't have, I do slowly pick them up. But
so, do you know off the top of your head how many issues that would be? So 300 plus what?
Another 20 or so. I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah.
Okay. I'm really curious. So how many, if you count everything that came out related to Hellblazer, what that would be beyond 300 issues. So if anybody knows that offhand, let us know. Anyway, so that's Vertigo stuff. Anything else on Vertigo you want to say? Are we generally glad it's back?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I am. One more place to get books from, I guess. I mean, that's,
more comics.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I guess do they have a direction? Do they have a thought as what they want to do and whatnot? I mean, Is there really an investment in it, or is it just they get, DC gets embarrassed that they haven't done anything with Vertigo, and they throw something at it for a while, and it's, and then it's done. Because it was a couple years ago, they had that big push, and they released, like 6 titles that were all going to be ongoing, like 3 a month from October through December, and then they were all ongoings, and then they all slowly, some quickly, petered out, kind of a thing. So.
And so, related to, I guess, launch, we talked about this last time too. Comixology Originals. So take 2, just like the Vertigo thing for us. What I threw this on here. I mean, they've. I think since the last time we talked, they've announced additional titles for their Comixology Originals. I'm not going to go through those, but what I wanted to talk over with Travis is the reaction from a particular person, Fantagraphics associate publisher Eric Reynolds. So, did you read all those tweets, Travis?
I didn't read all of them.
So, really, what I want to what I want us to talk about is, let me see if I can summarize it. Basically, well, okay. So this is a quote from Mr. Reynolds. This Comixology Originals announcement that Comixology will self-publish and distribute comics in digital and print-on-demand services. Print-on-demand. He frames it as a, quote, blatant grab at strengthening its digital and print market using its inherent monolithic market advantages. So I don't know. It's so I guess my question was, does he have a point in his objections to this, or is this just, old media complaining about new media? And
Both.
given your abhorrence of digital comics, I was really interested to get your take on this.
It's both. I mean, I think from a purely business standpoint, I think he's pretty accurate. I don't think there's any argument that Amazon is a monster in all facets, and Comixology is just one more monster that, and that's kind of what they're doing. They have a distinct advantage that nobody else has. You pretty much have to use their platform, or you're. It's not that you're non-existent, but you're the equivalent of a web comic. So you don't have the same advantages that, that Comixology has. So I mean, in that sense, yes, they are leveraging the power they have to whatever. So does Marvel and so does DC. Every time they release a new comic book, they're doing the same thing. So I mean, part of me is, go ahead.
Are you equating Comixology / Amazon in the same arena as DC and Marvel?
Well, once they start producing their own stuff, why aren't they?
Okay. Well, I mean, Fantagraphic produces stuff. Boom produces their own stuff, but
and they just don't. But they aren't as they aren't as big.
Exactly. So, Eric Reynolds says Amazon's endgame here is clear. They eventually want their proprietary print-on-demand tech to fulfill as much consumer book demand as possible. And these exclusives are a way of conditioning comics fans to this process. So we publishers will eventually conform our business. In other words, we're probably effed, but we'll keep on doing our part.
Yeah. Just like Walmart, that's the business, right? I mean, if we just look at it from the business end of it, why wouldn't you run a business where you can gather as much as you can? Isn't that what a business is about?
Well, yeah. See, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I totally get his, as a smaller publisher, this will potentially greatly impact them, and I totally get them being concerned about it. But yeah, at the same time, it's like, well, that's business, right? So
it's capitalism or whatever you want to call it. I mean, yes, it is. I mean, I'm the same way. I mean, but at the same time, I like the smaller people that do their whatever, because they're doing something that's, so that I I don't avoid Amazon. That's just too easy in life. But I don't, I shop mom and pop places as much as I can to some degree, just to try and counteract. I don't want it just to be one business. I don't want Amazon ultimately at the end of the day to control everything.
Right.
I don't. I wouldn't want Comixology.
We don't want a monopoly with anybody.
Because if Comixology owns it all, then, well, at some point they'll quit printing on demand, or I don't know what the cost of print on demand is, but now print on demand sounds super sexy to me. I mean, I remember that being taught.
Are you being sarcastic?
No, I'm dead serious.
No, okay. I wasn't sure.
If somebody can create content, and then I can go, yeah, I want that, and next week I get a physical copy of it mailed to me. Cool. They're not. Sucks if you're a brick and mortar, unless you have control over that as a brick and mortar store, because clearly you want something staying on the shelves, and it's not physically on the shelves until I ask for it. I remember the first year we went to Emerald City Comic Con. How many years ago has that been now? 7 or something like that. Sure. Whatever it was. And I remember there was a guy there. Eric Truman, is his last name Truman? He does design work for a lot of Greg Rucka's books. So he works on
Eric Troutman.
So his wife owns a comic book store. So he's got this double perspective. One of him as a creator. At the time that he was there, he was definitely a creator. I mean, he was writing, I think he was writing Checkmate at the time, and stuff. And he was talking about print on demand then, about what that would be like for his store, if his store could have a machine, some advanced version of a photocopy machine, that could print out, they didn't have to have it on their shelves then. You wanted it, then they could produce it right there on the spot. He thought that sounded great. And everybody else that was on the panel looked at him like he was insane, kind of a thing. But so that's always that aspect of it's always been intriguing and whatnot. But as anybody who's watched more than one of these shows knows, I'm not excited about digital comics at all. And the continued concern that they're going to design it for digital in mind. And then the printed copy suffers for being designed for automatic scroll and all the other shenanigans that go on with digital comics. So.
Yeah, I just basically kind of poo-pooed Mr. Reynolds' gloom and doom outlook, but I don't know, and I'm rethinking it. The whole print-on-demand thing, that would significantly impact not just these small publishers like Fantagraphics and others, but that would could potentially drastically change the comic book industry. From preview distribution to your brick and mortar store, all that stuff. That would be very interesting to watch and see what pans out again, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and the other part that's interesting, I guess, about that is that, of course, those of us who get physical copies, we're all, and all the stores and everything are all at the mercy of Diamond, because they're the only distributor. How that works, I don't know, but they're basically the only comic book distributor. This competes with Diamond. And to me, that's curious. I mean, that's not a bad thing, in my opinion. They're not competing in the way that I want them to compete, because they're not competing with something that I want to consume in the way it's being delivered. But that is competition to them too.
Right.
And the fact that because Comixology is a distributor, in a sense, they're just distributed to, just the digital version of it. I'm kind of shocked that Diamond didn't hurry up and jump on that themselves, but whatever. So there is a certain amount of competition there, but
right. But then, good. Yeah, like I said, the small publishers, the consumers are kind of caught in the crossfire, so to speak, of this potential capitalistic war.
Yeah.
We'll see. Like I said, it'll be interesting to keep an eye on this, and I'm sure we'll revisit it in the future. Yeah, Travis, you mentioned Walmart there in passing. That's also on my list. So, have you been in a Walmart recently? Have you seen these comics on the shelves?
I have not seen them on the shelves. I think they're cool. I think it's exciting as all heck. I think it's awesome. Whichever comic book store it is that says that they're no longer going to carry DC's, any unknown name person, whatever, that person's an idiot. In my opinion, you stock your shelves of what sells, and you're a knucklehead if you're not stocking your shelves of what sells as a business, in my opinion. So this threat of how dare you sell that there exclusively and not someplace else, all it's going to do in my head is it creates more comic book fans. It creates more people that have an understanding that there are comic books out there. They read those. 90% of it is reprints that are already being sold in your brick and mortar store if you care to sell them. There's one little piece of new something in there. And then the hope would be is that you'd read that, you'd be done reading it before anything else gets produced for Walmart, and you're going to go seek something out. In every single one of those issues, there are guides in there on how to find comic book stores. They are giving you the information in there to find you. Except they're going to go to your store and go, oh, the stuff I wanted isn't here because you're choosing not to carry it because you're having a fit.
Okay,
so whatever.
We should probably back up and explain, just in case people aren't aware of this. DC Comics, in one of their many publishing initiatives, has partnered with Walmart to sell these 100-page comics for $5. So it gives you one new story. When they have their A-list talent working on this stuff, including Brian Michael Bendis on Superman. Who was the artist on that? Was that Jason Fabok, or am I mixing stuff up? Do you remember?
I think it is.
I'll look that up as I talk, but I get excuse me, one new story, 3 reprints. So they're reprinting more recent. Well, I think like with the Batman book, they're giving us I want to say Scott Snyder, but that's the reprint stuff. I think is they're doing the Court of Owls storyline or some aspect of that. So you get like I said, 100 pages for $5. You get a little bit new and a bunch older to whet the appetite of these potentially new comics readers. And boy, if just looking at it from a total publisher perspective, I mean, like you say, this is like a no-brainer in term, for DC to try and reach out and get more people to read comics, to get their attention, get them to buy stuff. I think it's a good idea. I know there's a lot of detractors out there, at least for the people that I follow on Twitter and those who like and retweet and all that kind of stuff, these things. But yeah, so yeah, here we go. I just pulled it up here. There's a 12-part Superman story. So they're in for a year, I think, right? Is it monthly? Yeah, it's monthly. These are monthly. So they're in it for at least a year. They have a 12-part Superman story. This can't be right. This is from the DC Comics page. It says 12-part Superman story by Tom King and a 12-part Batman story by Brian Michael Bendis. Is that right?
Right. I looked at that. No, it can't be right. That
seems like it should be reversed.
Yeah,
maybe it's not, though. Boy, if I'm missing a Tom King Superman story, I better go. No, wait. So, but the other thing that DC talked about with this announcement was that eventually the new stuff will be collected in trades. And so people like us who don't need to go spend $5 on comics we probably already have bought and are in our collection. We don't need to waste $5 on what is it? 6 pages of new story? 8 pages? I don't remember.
Something like that. Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, so it's like DC has delivers the cake and we get to eat it too. I don't know. That's a bad analogy, but the thing that that Travis was talking about is that Larry's Comics announced that it would no longer support new DC writers because of this. New DC writers. But the owner, Larry, I guess, will continue to support the big names, though, that DC's publishing. So that's
Well, it's
whatever.
hilarious that you would say that too. I mean, to me, it's partially a publicity stunt. Him making this claim. Larry's is a pretty big place. I mean,
Right.
I don't follow them, and they show up in my Twitter feed and whatnot. So clearly, there's somebody who has an opinion. I think they put out a lot of information on what sells and doesn't sell. I think they actively our retail store that gives us an idea of how retail actually works for a comic book store. So kudos for them for that. But this I don't know, this veiled threat of we're not going to carry any, we're going to carry the big name people and not anybody else. Okay, who are the small name people writing for DC? As my first thought is off the top of my head. I mean, I don't know, where's the line drawn at? Was Tom King a big name when he started writing Batman?
At that point, because that was
towards the end. We were towards the end of the Vision. He was still writing the Vision,
right? And he was on Grayson before that. Omega Man. I know that's probably
so they wouldn't have carried. So they wouldn't have carried Grayson. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out what it is. I'm trying to think what it is they wouldn't carry if they were not gonna. Whatever. Yeah. I don't know. To me, it seems silly. I mean,
a bit.
Oh no, that I'm sure DC just went. Oh, we're gonna have to figure out how to break this contract because Larry's isn't going to carry our no name comics. I don't know.
I should probably look this up. I probably should have done it. Bad journalist. That I am. I should have looked this up to see if there's been any developments since I wrote down these notes, which is about a month or so ago.
Yeah, some of those are
June. Oh, it's a month ago that they announced this. There you go. But anyway, I just thought those are interesting to note. But yeah, I actually my local Walmart happened to be in there, and they have they have this one box near the registers that's full of comics, and not all of them, Travis, were of these $5 giants these new $5 giants that they're selling. There were collections of remember the old bagged comics that we could buy in various stores when we were kids, and you could get 3 random issues. And it's kind of like that. They kind of do that too nowadays, at least with whatever is at this local Walmart. I'm curious if other Walmarts do this too. But I was flipping through them because we were the self-checkout register that we were using broke down on us. We had completely scanned everything and was ready trying to pay, and it just froze. And so they were trying to fix that. And so I was waiting for them to fix that, which they never did. We had to do it again. Anyway, I went over and looked at the comics in there, and I found a couple of the giants. Now, even if I was really interested, and I let's say that I absolutely had to read these new stories, these 12-part stories. The condition of those comics in that little display box, I wouldn't do it. I couldn't pull the trigger on that if no matter how much I wanted to read that stuff. So I'll wait for the trade.
I mean, I know lots of comic book fans who went out and bought those things, but those things aren't for us. They're not. They're not for us.
No, you're right.
They're those starter books that. Did you think twice about what the shape of the comic looked like back in the day when you pulled them off the spinner rack at the grocery store? Did you really?
Yes.
I did. I mean, I wouldn't have bought something that was torn, but I never pulled out and went,
oh yeah.
Are there corners folded on this? Has the spine been rolled yet? I wouldn't even think about that stuff. It's Spider-Man. He's fighting some atomic something. I'm reading it.
I was a little more anal, I think, than you when it comes to that stuff. I would flip through all the comics that were in the rack trying to find the best one of that issue that was there.
It was the grocery store. I bought whatever I could, kind of thing, and did not even think twice about it. Yeah. So
anyway, interesting, Travis. Coming out of that, again, I'm bad at this. There was a Twitter thread that I read, and I couldn't find it again. That's the problem. I was gonna attribute this to that thread, but this person brought up, or someone in the thread brought this up. I don't recall now, but brought up the idea: what if DC and Marvel did their universe books? You know, just like, you know, here's Batman, here's Superman, here's Spider-Man, here's Iron Man, that kind of thing. Interesting that I say all of the man books off the top of my head. That's bad too. But anyway, all these books. But then instead of doing, like, you know, another Superman book or another whatever book, Daredevil book or whatever, like Daredevil would get 2 books. I love Daredevil. Don't at me, people. I love Daredevil. But so do one main book, but then the rest of these other stories that they want to tell, instead of putting them in another that character's book, do essentially imprints with different interpretations of the characters. So, like, I think of the Tom King written Batman right now, which, given, especially after Batman 50 came out and the uproar over that, I don't know if we're going to talk about that because it's not on my list, but man, what a Jesus Christ, people just need to calm their asses down. What if Tom King's Batman is that idea, that imprint, that different interpretation? You know, you just tell a different Batman story, and that's it. So it'd be kind of like the Elseworlds, sort of, not quite the Elseworlds specific type thing, but you know I'm getting at. Just a particular creative team comes in and tells a particular kind of story featuring this character. It's done how, you know, whatever it takes, 4, 6, 12, 24 issues, whatever. And then it's done, and then somebody else comes in and does. And so they do a bunch of that kind of stuff. So we get all these different interpretations of these characters, and then they have their own the universe line where they can continue the continuity that all they want and all that kind of stuff. And that's where, you know, that's where your zombie fans will continue to buy stuff. And then I don't know. Do you think that's a crazy idea, or what? Is it just totally just stupid to even think about that? I thought it was an interesting idea.
I mean, we're getting that to some degree now, right?
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, really like jumping in, you know, both feet with this idea and running with it. That's kind of where I'm going with that. But yeah, no, I agree with you. Totally.
I think they should be doing that anyway.
Yeah.
And you know, some of that is, I think, the longevity of my reading. I don't need to keep reading the exact same story maintained for forever. So, yes. You know, I think that we should be doing that anyway. I mean, it's granted, if I'm a Batman fan and I want to read Batman, and, you know, whatever creator's on Batman at a time sucks the fun out of the book for me, then that's a bummer for the amount of time, right? So I have 2 choices. Either I roll along as a collector buying it and not enjoying it, or I drop it and then pick it back up again when somebody else takes over the book, you know, kind of a thing. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I'd be cool with that. I'd probably then wouldn't pick up the normal book. I'd pick up somebody trying to do something different with it.
Well, and yeah, I thought of you specifically because I know you like, you know, the things that are off the beaten path, so to speak.
Right. Well, I guess to some degree I want to be challenged as a reader to not be reading the same thing all the time. I mean, whereas to some degree, you know, I appreciate you have norms, and over the years, all of the big name characters are kind of established as kind of, you know, to some degree acting and being a particular way. And then we're challenged around that is the books I want to read, I guess. But if they stay, you know, within the lines all the time, it's a homogenized yawn fest. It's a mediocre kind of thing. Even when it's good, you're still stuck. So I mean, whatever.
Within the continuity. Yeah.
Right. I mean, so I don't need that. I don't need the steady book, but I get it at the same time, because there are times when I'm really frustrated. I'm like, oh my God, this is Batman. Why is it being this way? You know, kind of thing. I feel less that way now than I did 50 issues ago. the beginning of the rebirth of Batman, I was seriously hitting my head against the wall because I'd like, oh, how can this be? What am I getting? So, but like I said, you roll with it or you jump off and go do something else and whatnot.
Exactly. So, like I said, I picked on the Tom King written Batman because he's
comics are serious. Don't get me wrong. Comics are super serious and love of the characters is serious. I get all of that, but it's not the kind of serious that lately seems to be cropping its head up. So,
well, and so, okay. So you're opening the door for me here. like I wouldn't just barge right through anyway. Yeah. Tom King received death threats because of how Batman 50, the twist or the big reveal of it. I'm not going to say what it is in case people haven't read it, but I mean, come on. That is.
See, I just wonder. And part of me wonders if the death threats are even over, and if the death threats came from people who actually read it, or people that were just upset when they saw this giant spoiler half a week before it, before it actually happened. I mean, I don't know. And there's people who say the whole thing's a publicity stunt, that it's. But
well, wait, what do you mean by
him having a bodyguard is as much of a publicity stunt as it is reality?
Well, I given the way that he's kind of facetiously referring to his bodyguard on Twitter while he's at San Diego, I can see why some people might think that.
Well, I just figure he's got to make the most of it.
Well, yeah,
I would. I would. I mean, because to me it would be pretty upsetting to have a freaking bodyguard. Well, not because you're gonna get mobbed by fans, but because there's gonna be one lunatic there that's gonna, stick you with the real knife or something.
Precisely. Yeah. I mean, but if you've ever read an interview with Tom King, if you've ever listened to him on a podcast or seen him on oh gosh, who's that late night guy? Seth Meyers. Mm-hmm. That's the Tom King that I expect. The way that he's tweeting about this, the way the pictures of his bodyguard and all that kind of stuff. That's just Tom King to me, based on what I know of him. So I don't. But this is just ridiculous.
Well, it's
every time we get a new creative team on any established DC or Marvel character, you're getting a new take, a new vision of it. Now, sometimes those visions don't deviate too much from what came before, or they're revisiting things from, in the past or whatever, or you get something really different. And I think that's what Tom King has done here. The hashtag not my Batman, that seems to be a thing, right? But you know what? Like you said earlier, it's like, if you don't like it, don't read it. Come back on when somebody that you like is going to do their version of Batman.
I have never read a comic book. Like I said, in the 30 plus years of reading comic books, I have never read a comic book. And I've read some bad ones. I've read some ones that have made me very angry. I have never put the comic book down and said, so-and-so needs to be killed for what was done in this comic book.
Exactly. That's just over something that we, I guess maybe like you say, we've been reading comics. Actually, it's almost 40 years, Travis.
Yes.
For those of us who've been around for a while, we've seen this before. We've seen these kinds of things before, and we expect those things, such as impending marriages, to not last, perhaps, or
and I'm not implying that it's new fans that are the nuts. That are
I'm not saying that either.
I mean, because I want to make that clear that I'm not saying that's the case. I'm not saying that's the case either.
But you've just blown my argument out of the water. I was gonna say the longevity of readership should,
because you got to remember when the New 52 hit, there were a lot of us old geezers that completely lost their minds.
Oh yeah.
But we're just upset. But I mean, took it to next level kind of thing. So
yeah. See, well, you're right. You're totally right. It has nothing to do with age or how many years you've been reading comics. But good Lord, come on. I'm more upset about Dan DiDio's poo-pooing marriage as somehow being detrimental to the character. And you and I have talked about this before on
the New 52
episodes
when they
a
made
long
that
time. Yeah, exactly. New 52 episodes with the regards to Superman specifically. So anyway, it's man, what a can of worms that is. Just real quick before we move on, since we're talking about Batman specifically, Carlos did correct us. He says it's correct. Bendis is writing Batman in those Giants.
And that's right, because I remember Bendis commenting the fact that, oh my God, he was getting to write Batman too. So it was like he was getting to write everything.
Right. So now, now I am totally jonesing to read Tom King's Superman story. Put Tom King on Superman. Yay!
Now put him on the regular title. Now.
Hey.
Now.
Let him have his 100-issue run.
Oh my God.
Great. You ingrates.
One issue was enough of Superman for me. So.
Oh, good Lord. Okay. Don't make me shut you off, Travis. As if. All right. So I think what the rest of what we're going to talk about is like new stuff, new interesting stuff, new comics and new announcements. I'll start off with since we're just kind of peripherally talking about, well, there's a lot of Marvel and DC stuff as usual. But interesting, I thought that Marvel is bringing back Iceman and the Unstoppable Wasp. So apparently the trade sales, as I understand it, were
finally caught up
substantial enough, that they like, oh wait, there is an audience here. We should keep publishing these books.
Right.
So that's great. I like that.
I wonder when that trade sale's going on at. I mean, has that stuff finally hit like the Scholastics level of
I
sales?
doubt it, but I don't know. Yeah, that'd be interesting to take a look at.
Well, I know some of their other Marvel books get sold there. Ms. Marvel gets sold at that level.
Oh, really? Yeah. I've heard that as well. But I don't know. I can't imagine that the Unstoppable Wasp and Iceman reaching those numbers, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, Unstoppable Wasp, Wasp certainly deserves it.
That's cool. That's cool that it's coming back. I mean, that that the market's there and it's not a lie. So
yeah. Let's see here. I thought there was one more thing about canceled books coming back. I think I was thinking about it and I didn't write it down. So on we go. And so this is more or less in chronological order. I know we were kind of skipping around there in the timeline, but next up that I wanted to talk about, Travis, speaking of Tom King, I should have started with that. Tom King and Clay Mann are going to do a 7-issue miniseries of DC called Heroes in Crisis. Travis, as a long-term supporter of event books, as you are.
Yes. Oh yeah.
What do you think of the idea? This idea that superheroes in the DC universe need crisis counseling.
So if we would have had this conversation, like, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, I would maybe have a different opinion than I have now. I'm interested in exploring the idea of, the trauma that superheroes would go through and the mental trauma you'd hang on to, the potential PTSD and all that. That's all interesting. Now it sounds more like the book is, who are we going to kill off first? And stuff. And the first cover like images, it's got Harley quasi standing on top of Batman's neck, a la the wonderful cover of Wonder Woman standing on Batman's head. I can't remember what that story was. Right. So it's kind of like that, but she's got the golden lasso around Batman's. I don't know. I don't want it to be a kill fest. I don't want to have to kill off some, BDC level hero for all of these, suddenly all of, the main pantheon of heroes to suddenly, have trauma. We don't need that. I mean, all I have to do is look back at every single one of these characters' history, and it's already there. The trauma's already. You don't have to create a new one. So, how many issues are we going to spend creating a new trauma for them to all wring their hands about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that. To me, that's not gonna be good. That's not gonna be a good story. If it's a matter of, Billy the sidekick, who we've never heard of, suddenly drops dead, and Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman and Green Lantern, and they're all so shaken to the core that Billy the sidekick got killed.
Even if
it's gonna take a lot. There better be a kick-ass wake where it's this awesome party and they celebrate the fact that we just got rid of one of the worst Robins ever. Okay. That would be great.
All right.
That'd be great.
Folks, I apologize. I opened that door for Travis. So
you did. Because that guy never crosses my mind until someone else brings him up. But no, I didn't. No, I don't. To me, it wouldn't matter. I don't think it's going to matter who it is. I don't want it to be that. I don't want it to be, let's kill somebody off to have that. It's because it's already there. I mean, it's kind of an intriguing idea. I think we got maybe a small sampling of it with that really bizarre Booster Gold story that was in the Batman run. I don't know.
I wonder if that was the germ for the idea for him, was when he was coming up with that story, that Booster Gold Batman story.
Yeah.
It's an obvious through line, but.
Well, he clearly likes writing about trauma anyway. Tom King does. I mean, look at all the stuff we've read. There's all some pretty significant mental trauma goes on in all of that stuff.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in the process of having a conversation with Sleepy Reader Damien about the Tom King run of Batman.
Yeah. And
about how he likes to destroy heroes. He likes to unhero heroes. It is Damien's perspective on it.
Okay.
So, yeah. I'm going to get it because I'm interested in I really enjoy Tom King's work that's outside of what I feel like he has to kind of follow mainstream comics to some degree with things like Batman and whatnot. The stuff where he gets to take a character and kind of go wherever he wants to go with it. I've enjoyed most of that type of stuff, so I'm going to get it. But like I said, 3 weeks ago, before I'd heard about the stuff coming out of San Diego Comic-Con about it, I was interested. Now I'm worried.
Yeah.
Whereas I wasn't worried to start out with.
Yeah. My first thought on that was, well, it's Tom King written, Clay Mann drawn, and they're a good pair. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, and I was intrigued by the concept like you, but my first thought of the fear of what this could be is like, is this going to be Identity Crisis 2.0? And I'm not the first person to make that comparison, nor I'm sure the last, but yeah, that'd be kind of nice if it wasn't that. And I right now I kind of have a lot of faith in Tom King as the writer to not retread that ground. And folks, in the notes that Travis and I collaborate on, I gave him a link to a Twitter thread that talked about the Identity Crisis, kind of the behind the scenes stuff of Identity Crisis for someone who worked at DC at that time. That thread has since been, I don't know if it's still there, but that person has protected their Twitter feed, so I can no longer access it.
Right.
So anyway, I don't know what became of that. Anyway, but it was a very fascinating read to discover some of the behind the scenes shenanigans that went along with that, and there were some.
Sometimes I don't want to know what's in the soup. You know what I mean?
Sausage making, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I guess it turns out that the some of the ideas that a lot of people object to, including myself, about Identity Crisis, did not come from the writer of that series, Brad Meltzer. So yeah, some things were kind of given to him to deal with, shall we say. So I'm hoping that we don't get a similar situation with this new Heroes in Crisis, aka Sanctuary, which I wish that's the title they would have went with, but oh well. DC's got to have their crisis.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on. So, Travis, there's a new publisher in town. Did you see this in the latest previews or see the news about this? Ahoy?
Yeah, I saw the news about it. I didn't see the previews.
Ahoy Comics? Yeah. So this is a new publishing venture for stuff launching in September. This is founded by journalist Hart Seeley. So Ahoy Comics, which stands for, oh boy, where is it? I just had it. Adventure. H is something else.
I'm looking for it now too, because I remember standing for something.
Okay. Anyway, right. So but Ahoy, Hoahoy, actually stands for something. So anyway, boy, I'm really blanking on. Yeah, I can't find it. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Haha. Abundance, as in more pages per issue, humor, originality, and yes, as in yes to monthly comics, yes to collected editions, yes to meaningful stories, dramatic art, and beautiful design, yes to working and shipping on schedule. Remains to be seen.
Yes.
Terrible that we're cynical like this, Travis. Yes to the fine production detail that make enjoyment effortless. Yes to page numbers. Travis, page numbers. Big thumbs up from Travis there. Yes to comics for comics' sake. Yes to people who love to read. And so they've got, let's see, they've got a bunch of people involved with this. Of course, they lead off with Grant Morrison, though Grant Morrison. Okay, I should back up. So more pages. It's not just comic book. Your typical comic book. Each comic will have. So it's basically a comic book magazine. It'll feature or have a full-length lead story along with backup material, including cartoons, prose, and poetry. Even poetry, it says. And the creative lineup, like I said, they start off with Grant Morrison, and Grant Morrison is one of the prose contributors in these books. Mark Russell, that we mentioned earlier, Ann Nesenti, Tom Pyre involved. I'm sure there are other people that have been discussed. Jamal Eigel is working with. Tom Pyre for the series The Wrong Earth. Which actually I pre-ordered, so I'll be getting this. So it'll be fun to see how this works out. And then there's another series that they're debuting Ahoy Comics with called High Heaven by Tom Pyre and Greg Scott. So yeah, you're spending $3.99 to get I don't know how many pages of the comic story, but you're getting all this extra stuff too. So. Is that something that would interest you, Travis? Do you think that there's this market for? I mean, it seems like everybody's trying to do like a comics magazine type thing. We have it with. Oh man, I'm blanking out. Was Black Crown Quarterly like that, or am I not thinking of that correctly?
It kind of was. Yeah, I mean, it's got a mix of stuff in it. Yeah, so I mean, it's got a number of small comics in it, and then it's got. A chat with a creator and just some other kind of random quirky stuff that has to do with the universe of the Black Crown stuff and whatnot. Yeah.
And there's another one too that it came out on Wednesday, I think this is a thing from Alterna Comics. I think it's similar. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting. What do you think of this whole idea of here, give me your $4 and we'll give you a great comic story and these other things.
That's cool. I mean, I'll be curious to see how long it lasts. I just these type of things tend to not.
Yeah, is there a market for it?
Right. I don't know. I mean, I'm curious. It's got great. They've listed some great people in there. I'm as somebody who likes poetry a lot. I'm them throwing that in there as a sales thing. I'm like, that's really curious. I mean, so I might check it out. I mean, I'm interested in whatnot. I just don't. I don't know how it gets a foothold because I don't think that's what most people are looking for. I don't, but maybe the market's there, and how big does the market have to be successful for that type of a thing? I have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. But
You
I
know,
know I certainly.
but my other thought is are we, you know, what kind of work are we getting from these people? Okay, so it has their name on it, but I mean, if it's just one more thing they're turning out, I mean, Grant Morrison now sounds like he's like everywhere, right?
Yes.
He's doing something for this. My understanding is he's still in charge of heavy metal. He's back doing some work for DC again. You know, I mean, not to say that he can't do a bunch of stuff, but I don't know. There has to be a diminishing returns there at some point, right?
Maybe, or maybe they're gambling on something, you know, an untapped potential with us comics fans.
Sure.
Get more bang for your buck, I guess. It's really interesting that, you know, the comics magazines. I mentioned Alterna. They're the ones doing the $1.50 comics on newsprint. You know, kind of like these sort of gimmicky kind of things. And you know, I don't mean that in a pejorative way. It's just that they're trying something different than
Right.
DC and Marvel is feeding us, and by extension, a lot of the other publishers as well. Um, just to get more eyes on their work and try and sell more comics, which I, you know, from what we said before, and one of the other stories we commented on, I mean, that's business, right? That's how you try and sell your product. The question is, you know, will it take off, or will they tank after, you know, X number of issues? So I certainly am looking forward to reading that first issue, and you know, mostly because I like Jamal Eigel's art. So,
Well,
but the concept of
yeah,
that book is really
I'm
good.
happy with more publishers and more work out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's some people who suggest that there's too much new stuff out there. To me, that's crazy pants. I say get as much out there as can. You know, what works is going to work and what doesn't isn't. I mean, you know, it's simply you know, I don't think it's a matter of, oh, that would have been successful, but there were too many books out there, so it never found a home. If it's good, it's going to find a home, because
Yeah.
it won't take very long for a few of us noisy people to pick up the stuff that's good and be talking about it, and other people are gonna buy too. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I did talk about this on my previous episode, the previews episode that will be in the feed before that's in the feed before this episode will go out. So yeah, you know, I'm trying my best to talk about new interesting things, at least from my perspective. Before we move on to the next thing, Travis, I just want to note Carlos said that in reference to our talk about Heroes in Crisis just a few minutes ago, killing heroes is Jeff Johns' thing. And Carlos, if you're still listening, I was thinking the exact same thing. But I didn't bring it up. So, you know, there's that. That's the one thing I don't like about Jeff Johns is his desire to kill and mutilate my
which
heroes.
explains why his little imprint is called what it's called, right? Because this is an imprint called the Killing Zone or something like that, which
Yeah,
I think is
actually,
horrible.
it is. I actually had that on the list,
Horrible.
Travis, and cut it out for time. But yeah,
Oh.
that does not make me want to read his stuff.
No, anything by him. Anything by him. It's like, oh no. I'm not that I'm against, you know, characters getting wiped out, but yeah. Anyway.
I need to look up the name now that we mentioned it.
I'm almost sure it's the Killing Zone or something like that.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Because yeah, I heard that and I'm like, really? I mean, that's supposed to be.
It is the Killing Zone.
Wow.
Oh my God. Okay. He says, I want to challenge myself again. I think you should challenge yourself not to be the mutilator of DC Comics heroes.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. In relation to new ways of providing comic book content, I thought this was also interesting, Travis. Kelly Thompson, along with artist Mattia de Iulis, they're taking over Jessica Jones. But what's interesting about this is that they're releasing digitally first 40-page comics for $5, $4.99. They're going to then trade those first 3 issues. They're going to take a break and then repeat that again. So digital first with 40 pages. You can get a trade if you want. I know you don't like the digital thing, but interesting that they're taking that that particular route in publishing this book?
Well, I think producing single issues is expensive. This makes it a cheap way to produce single issues, right? Or a cheaper way.
Well, yeah, and like we were talking about before with Comixology and Amazon, this is Marvel's attempt at testing the waters for this kind of publishing route.
So where's Larry Comics at? How come he hasn't said he's not going to carry any Marvel books that are written by no-name creators? Because this is the same thing. I don't know. I mean, I don't like it personally. As soon as this was announced, and since this weekend, they've actually announced they're doing Luke Cage and they're doing Iron Fist this way also. This exact same format. Different creators, but yeah. So, and they're like, ooh, Declan Shalvey's doing the covers for Luke Cage. And I'm like, so what? I'm looking at a cover on a screen. It doesn't anyway. But anyway, I got tweets as soon as this first one was announced. I got lots of tweets from lots of my friends who know my opinion about digital comics and whatnot. And were asking me if this was the future of comics. And it might be. It makes sense. I mean, it sounds good from a business standpoint. I'm still collecting basically top dollar, for a single issue. Because it's not like digital is cheaper than paper when they go to sell it to us, unless you get it on a sale. It's the same price or more, whatever. That doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, and then they produce a trade afterwards, and they don't have to produce the trade if nobody buys the thing in singles and nobody seems interested in it. They just don't produce it. They haven't committed to anything other than what's digitally. They don't have a publish. They don't have to have a distributor. They don't have to pay a printer. There's all that stuff they're cutting out. So they're making more money on this than they did if it was a single issue. So I get it if it's the future. The future bums me out if that's the future. So it does, sincerely. I like serialized comics. I really do. I really like the monthly grind of reading serialized comics. If I'm going to read something that's in trade, I rather read something that was designed with them knowing I have, 120 pages to tell a story in, and they tell it within that, not tell it within 4 or 5 40-page increments where they have to have a cliffhanger of some sort every 40 pages. Because when you read it in trade form, there is no cliffhanger because you literally turn the page. It's not like so it does not work. So I'm just saying.
Hold on. Okay, hold on, mister. I call BS on this.
Okay.
Because
tell me how it's BS.
You could, if you had the self-control, my friend, you could read just one issue in that trade, put it down for a month, and come back to it.
Why would you?
To simulate the experience that you're talking about.
That's ridiculous. I'm not going to pick up any book and read X number of pages from it and sit down and come back a month later. I'm going to read it through. We're merely talking about personal choice, Travis, right now. Personal choice. Yeah. And I'm telling you, yes, you do have a point, but I don't think that's a good reading experience.
Right. And, but you've heard other people saying this very thing I'm going to say right now. Reading the trade, regardless of, well, I won't say regardless, in some cases, is a better reading experience for them than reading one issue a month over the course of 6 months or whatever.
100%. I can't get my youngest kid to read single issue comics because she has to wait 30 days between. There's enough that's gone on in her life that she has to, she's challenged to remember all that stuff, which to me is no big deal. I mean, I read 60 plus books a month, and it's like, whatever, it's no big deal. But, I'm conditioned to do that, and they're not conditioned to do that. They're conditioned to binge whatever it is they choose to enjoy. And so, give it to them in trades. Awesome. I get it. Whatever.
All right. I'm going to be very interested in following this to see how well this works, because this again is a potential game changer for Marvel. And if Marvel deems this a success, DC of course will soon follow, as DC is wont to do.
Sure.
So, and then how will that impact Boom Studios and Dynamite and Fantagraphics and all those others, right?
Yep.
Ooh, interesting times we're living in, Travis.
I suppose.
What's is that?
Yes.
Is it, what's that old curse? We live in interesting times.
Right. Exactly. Is that the end of physical comics? No, but it certainly could change it a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure. I have a couple more, unless you have anything else to say about that, Travis. I have a couple more, I guess, publishing related things, and then we can get into some other comic stuff. We're getting close to the San Diego commentary, folks. Let's see. This says we're just talking about Marvel. This is weird, in a sense, Travis. IDW is going to publish Marvel Kid Comics for Marvel, featuring Marvel characters.
Right? Aren't they doing Star Wars too? Aren't they doing a line of girl Star Wars? I think it's them. I think IDW. It has some of the Star Wars stuff, right now, because all the Star Wars stuff is under Marvel. But I believe they're producing. Is it? I'm almost positive it's IDW that's doing it, but maybe not.
I'm looking it up.
There's somebody else that's doing some of the other Star Wars books,
right,
and I think, and they are, I think, exclusively with the female characters as the leads. Because heaven forbid that Marvel do that. I don't know what's up with that, but anyway. But I think they're younger reader oriented.
Star Wars Adventures from IDW.
So interesting. They choose to use somebody else to produce. I think. Do you think it has to do with the fact that Marvel proper has this number, this magic number they have to hit with their sales, and they don't think they're maybe going to hit that, so they have somebody else doing that because IDW can produce it and they can hit a much smaller sales number and be successful?
That, or or is Marvel's focus such that they don't have either the time, inclination, or talent to build that up, whereas IDW
so they're subcontracting it to them because they've got the time to mess with it?
Maybe, yeah. I just find it really weird that Disney owns Marvel. Marvel does not publish Disney property comics, and now Marvel is not going to publish their own character kid comics. Just like, this is weird.
Yep, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's strange. They can't do kids comics too, but
yeah. All right. And then finally, in this vein, I just want to note, Gail Simone was named chief architect of the Catalyst Prime superhero line at publisher Lionforge.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen name writers, well-established writers come in and kind of take over, chief editor.
Right. Give their vision. Yeah.
Yeah. Under their vision, they produce some comics for publisher. I'm thinking specifically Mark Waid did that at Boom for a while. I can't think of any other examples, but I know that we have that. So I don't know. It's nice that Gail Simone's doing that, I guess. I don't actually read any of the Lionforge stuff, but every time I go through previews, I'm certainly slowing down when I get to Lionforge because they have some interesting concepts. And I've just because I didn't jump on to their superhero line, and the way that
it feels like they're in the midst of a across their entire content continued eventish kind of thing seems to be going on. That's the only reason I haven't dipped in somewhere right now, because it feels like everything is so just looking at it. I mean, I haven't read the stuff, but just looking at it, everything seems so enmeshed with each other that I'm kind of waiting for something one of their superhero books to kind of seem like it's peeling away from the whole world. Um, and then I want to check some of it out. I mean, because some of it looks interesting. I just don't want to. It's why I avoid a lot of Marvel books, because they're so enmeshed with each other. I can't just feel like I can read this without there being a stuff I'm either missing, or there's just too many editor boxes down below saying this happened in this book, this happened in this book, this happened in this book, kind of thing. So I'm interested.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see what Gail does with this, because she has a very interesting viewpoint on a lot. If you follow her on Twitter, she has a very interesting viewpoint on a lot of things, and you know, she's a damn fine writer. So you know, but does that turn it? Does that equate to, you know, someone taking something that they're really good at, i.e., being a writer, a comic book writer, and turning that into more of a leadership position, and especially with a I don't want to diminish Lion Forge's contributions, but, you know, not an A tier publisher, right? So how will this impact that? Will it, I'm trying to imagine, will it be a great impact? Probably not.
Well, I think that she brings an audience with her wherever she goes. So her coming to Lion Forge is going to bring an audience that would not look at Lion Forge. We're having a conversation. When's the last time we had a conversation about Lion Forge, Eric?
Excellent point.
and that's part of it. I'm not saying that her fan base is massive, but even if she has a loyal fan base of 12,000 people who are going to read whatever she's touching, at least give it a try. For a smaller imprint, that is going to have a big impact on what their bottom dollar is. And I believe that they're a publisher that's trying to be more diverse than, say,
oh yeah, for sure,
the other companies are. And Gail is one of the most outspoken named creators that works for for the big two. You know, she's gonna, I think, so I said she's gonna bring that. It'll affect them. It may not affect us in our reading of it, maybe, but it'll affect them. I can't see it's not. Because she's gonna bring thousands of people with her.
For you personally, having her involved, does that make you more interested in picking up something from Lion Forge?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I'm going to be watching just to kind of see if something, like I said, if something comes out of that I can get on, that's not directly related to what seems to be their own kind of crisis that's going on, you know, in their stories of their books right now. I love Gail. I love what she represents. I love the fact she's as vocal as she is, and is in a position that she does not have to pull any punches on, you know, people's shenanigans on the internet and all that stuff and whatnot. I like Gail as a writer. I don't know that she's got like a million ideas though. I don't think of Gail Simone and go, oh, this is an idea person that's just churning out tons of different things all the time. So I don't know.
That could be though that she's not given the opportunity to do so with the particular publishers.
Sure, definitely. So I've been paying closer attention to it anyway, just because I keep telling myself I need to be looking at some of this other stuff that's out there. So yeah, I mean, this will continue to keep my eyes on looking to see what's potentially going to come from it and whatnot.
Well, and I was also thinking in terms of considering how much you and I specifically, enjoyed the 90s 2000 Vertigo under Karen Berger and then later Shelley Bond. Having more women visionaries, you know, running things, I think is probably a very good thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise you get Killing Zone imprints and Marriage is Bad for Superheroes type thing from male driven companies, or I should say company. Right. But anyway. Okay. Some again, a little bit more pre SDCC news. I just want to point out Black Panther's Shuri the breakout character of the Black Panther movie, I would say.
Movie, yes, definitely.
Is getting her own series. Boy, I should really do my homework when it comes to pronouncing the names. I think it's Needy Okorafor. I apologize. Is writing, and Leonardo Romero is doing the art. I saw the preview cover image of it. I thought that would looked interesting, but so Black Panther. I don't know how many Black Panther books there are out there, but now here's another one featuring his sister. I thought that was kind of a cool idea that they're doing that.
Yeah.
Continuing in that vein, G. Willow Wilson of Ms. Marvel fame is coming to DC to write Wonder Woman starting in November.
It's not like she hasn't worked at DC before.
Right. But
I'm back on the book
right now.
I'm back on the book.
Oh, you're back on the book now. Art by Carrie Nord. Are you familiar with Mr. Nord's work? Is it a Mr.?
I have no idea.
I don't know. Carrie Nord is on the DC New Age of Heroes book. Oh man, it's not Immortal Men, it's the other one. Oh man, what is the
Extinct?
I just read it. Why can't I remember these things, Travis?
It's
The Unknowns, right? Is that the book? This is silly. Okay, anyway, I have to say I wasn't a big fan of that particular art, as I recall. So, anyway, but G. Willow Wilson writing Wonder Woman, I think, I will be trying that out.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Good,
especially after the last bit that Wonder Woman's gone through. So,
is it the
Robinson run? There was supposed to be 6 issues and then turned into like 12 or something like that, and it's all seems to pivot around her brother. So,
well, Travis, they were addressing the thing, one of the DC Rebirth things.
Yeah, that Jeff Johns threw in somewhere, which was stupid.
Along with 3 Jokers. Which we're getting that too. I didn't put that on the list, but we're getting a 3 Jokers mini to explain that. Okay.
I'll be missing that too. So
you're Joker, you're anti-Joker?
No. I'm not anti-Joker.
Anti Jeff Johns Joker?
But I'm not pro Joker either, so.
Yeah. And then finally, speaking of Wonder Woman, did you see this, Travis? Wonder Woman and Justice League Dark, they're doing a crossover storyline called The Witching Hour for a 5-week event in October.
No, I did not see that until you put it,
really?
Down there on that thing. I'm like, okay.
First thing I thought was, Travis might be interested in this because it's a lot of the magical characters.
Right. And I'm like, damn, I hope I'm not too late to have jumped on the Wonder Woman half of that, because I'll get it. Because I like Wonder Woman. I'm interested in the Justice League Dark. It hasn't come out yet, but the characters that are in that are all interesting. So
I think it'll be next month that I'll be solicited. If I did my math right, which I don't.
So I will be I'll probably get on Wonder Woman quicker than if it's is it a crossover, or is it its own mini that's just one week after another?
I think they have 2 bookend comics.
Okay.
And then it's Wonder Woman, Justice League Dark, Wonder Woman, Justice League Dark, that kind of a thing.
Okay. Bummer. I was kind of hoping it was like the No Justice thing, where it's just each week. Yeah, so we just get a really quick mini series that lasts a month.
Yeah. As a person who, as we've already established, is a little too anal about his collection, things like that, storylines where it goes across different titles,
sucks.
I really hate that, because I want the storyline to be together.
Right, crossovers are the worst.
And I don't want to buy extra issues just so.
I will say this: the latest Deathstroke, where it's Deathstroke and Batman, that's going on right now, that story, it's all in Deathstroke. I would not recommend reading it, but it's all in Deathstroke. And I appreciate that. The fact is that you're not having to hop between new books. If you're interested in that story, you jump on, you read that story, and that's it. That's how I think it should be. If you're gonna if you want, I mean, I'm sure it's a sales thing too, right? You're trying to get
it has to be
people to check out both books. I get that, but from a reader collector standpoint, put it all in one book. Just use the character for however many months you need to get it all in one book. But
all right, and then oh yeah, that's it. Now we're on to San Diego Comic-Con news, Travis.
Yes.
So San Diego Comic-Con, a lot of the stuff that we talked about was kind of the during the same week of San Diego Comic-Con. Now it's not just a weekend; it's a whole week of news, folks. Sure. But this is the news that I gleaned from Thursday, Friday, and part of Saturday, because my daughter was visiting with her with her daughter. I kind of got out of the eagle-eyed focus I had on San Diego Comic-Con news yesterday. So not all the news that perhaps has come out of San Diego I have notes for, but we still have plenty of things to talk about, and I'm hoping Travis has some other things as well beyond that which I have listed here. But to start out with, we again, this is a return to something that we've talked about before, a follow-up. The DC Universe streaming service, they finally announced, Travis, how much it's going to cost.
Well, yeah. So for me, I didn't see on the news feeds for San Diego Comic-Con. I got a email
from DC
from DC telling me for a mere $80,
75,
I could sign up, and my name would be in to go see the premiere of Aquaman. 2 free tickets to Aquaman. I might be the winner of that. Well, I've been putting my name in to win stuff from DC for I don't know how many years now, and I've never won anything. So I didn't think it. And they did not talk about it being a monthly service. It was like, it's whatever it was, $75.99, and I'm like, as soon as I get that, I'm walking around the house informing everybody in the house that we may not be watching those shows because I don't want to drop $80 for a year's worth of whatever might be on that service that we only know what a small amount really is. There's a lot of pie in the sky. We're going to do this, but it's not made yet, kind of a thing. So I'm like, yeah. So seeing that there's a monthly fee, I will get it. But my plan is I'm going to wait for as much as I think I'm interested to be released. I'm going to get it for a month or two, and I'm going to binge watch the hell out of the stuff that I think I want to watch.
Well, see, this is okay. So let me just clarify. It is $74.99, $75 for a year. If you sign up within a certain amount of time, they will give you 3 extra months. So if you pay for that year, you get 3 months extra on top of that, or you can pay the $7.99 per month fee, which is not bad considering what they potentially and have announced that they're going to offer, along with the back catalog of things, the curated line of comics that they're going to include. Which I understand why they're doing that, but anyway, where was I going with this? $8 a month. Oh yeah, right. So what I imagine, Travis, is that they're going to help combat that. I'm going to wait X number of weeks or months or whatever, and then binge watch, like you said. That they're not going to release all this stuff, the new stuff. Like, so they dropped the trailer of Titans as well during San Diego. I don't know if you want to talk about that, but they have the Hawk and Dove planned series. They've got the Harley Quinn thing, Swamp thing. I'm forgetting something. Do you remember what it was?
Doom Patrol.
Was there one more? Doom Patrol. Thank you. I wonder if they're not going to release all those things relatively soon. So they'll do the Titans, then they'll a month or two out, then they'll do another one, then they'll do I wonder if they're going to do that. to help combat that whole idea, because that's what I did with the CBS app when Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
I waited till it was over,
Right.
paid for a month, watched them all, and then I canceled it.
Yep.
So anyway, I'll be signing up for this.
Yeah, because I'm
We'll
not
see how it
interested.
goes.
I'm not interested in all of that. So, like I said, for me, it's going to be a matter of, I've heard that, all of the Young Justice cartoon is out. Okay.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, that's the other big
we'll,
one for me.
We'll rent it, and then me and the kids will sit down and watch that all the way through. And then, like I said, and then we'll probably shut it off, and then wait for the next thing to be fully out.
Travis, I had a brilliant idea. I think you and I, we should we'll take turns. You rent it for 1 month, and I'll come down and watch stuff with you.
Cool.
And then I'll rent it for another month. You guys can come up here.
Sounds good.
Okay. In the vein of G. Willow Wilson on Wonder Woman, Kelly Sue DeConnick is going to write Aquaman.
I'm going to read Aquaman again.
With artist, is it Robson Roca?
Yes.
Robson Roca? Yeah, must be Robson Roca. Grant Morrison to write Green Lantern with artist Liam Sharp.
Oh boy.
Oh, see, okay. Oh well, let's go back to Kelly Sue DeConnick. So you're back on Aquaman.
I'll be back on Aquaman.
You think DeConnick is that good of a writer to bring you to a character I know you like to make fun of?
She is different enough that I think I might get a different take on what's there. I mean, I've heard the premise of the story. They wake up somewhat amnesiac on an island with a bunch of other rejected. Because I know you're gonna love that, right?
I hate that trope.
They don't know how they're there, but he's on the island with other oceanic people of power, is my understanding. So they got to figure out why they're there and figure out each other along the way too, or something like that.
Lord.
I know. See, so you don't need to read it. There you go.
No, I'll just wait for you to tell me how bad it is. Now, that's not a knock to Kelly Sue DeConnick, okay?
Right.
She's a great writer.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was
on board until you told me that.
Right. Aquaman is one of those characters that's, fun to have laughs out and whatnot, but I really don't have anything actually an actual beef with the character. It's a character that if somebody interested is going to come along and write it, I'm going to check it out. I don't know how long I'll be on it, even with Kelly Sue on it, but I'll check it out just to see what they do with it. Because for me, Aquaman is relatively a blank slate. I mean, there's just not that much interesting to him. So if somebody can add something interesting to him, cool. The one I'm torn on is the Green Lantern one.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about that for a second. Because you and I both, we like Grant Morrison.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
He's a good writer.
Right. And a challenging writer.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yes. I have to say, this is probably the first time where I'm like, Grant Morrison's doing a character? I don't know.
Really? I figured you'd be on board because you like Green Lantern.
I know, right? It's touching all my buttons, and yet I am very lackluster on this idea.
Really? You just don't think Grant can do it? You don't think Grant's got his own version of Space Cop? That's going to be interesting?
I'm sure he does. I don't know, the pitch thus far that I've heard.
Oh,
I am not excited about.
I haven't heard a pitch for it.
And part of it might be that the Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps book was so strong that I'm like, why are you stopping this?
They're stopping everything. You kind of notice that they're kind of stopping everything.
Yeah.
DC, all their books are most of them are coming to an end and starting over again, it seems like.
It's
in some sense.
I mean, Robert Venditti moved over to Hawkman, which is, spoiler alert, pretty damn good. But I don't know. I really love that book, and they stopped it, and now Grant Morrison back. Yay! Oh, he's doing Space Cop, and Hal Jordan.
Yeah, who's
my
least favorite character. I don't like Hal Jordan, so it's like, oh.
Well, but perhaps the saving grace is, of course, it being Grant Morrison, he is
Right.
going to delve into and play with the history of the character. And
Yeah.
so I imagine, there's going to be a lot of interactions with other Green Lanterns, which we have a lot of Green Lanterns in the Green Lantern core part of the book that we just had. Actually, I think it hasn't ended technically at the time of this recording, but it's pretty close. It's like 3 issues away or something. But I there hasn't been a whole lot of, I don't know, spotlighting other characters. It's mostly the 3 human Green Lanterns and a
Mhm.
handful of the other ones. I'm very much simplistically summarizing the book, so as don't take my word for it. It's a really good book, but it's just like, I don't know, not my bag, man. I'm not sure yet.
And see, I think I'm gonna end up getting it. I'm apprehensive, but because it's Grant Morrison, it might take it someplace I'm actually interested in it, and make me like or enjoy disliking Hal Jordan. Because
You're gonna
I
get
don't
one.
well see I don't put it beyond Grant to just ratchet up some of the stuff that I think is obnoxious about Hal Jordan anyway, and ratchet those things up to 10, and that might make me enjoy it just because I hate it at the same time that I'm as I'm reading it, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I am
You
I
want Grant
don't
to
want to
torture
waste.
you.
I mean, here's my thing: is I don't want to waste money on a Green Lantern comic book, but yeah,
Waste money.
I'll probably get a few issues
Oh my gosh.
because
Okay.
I'll be dropping Superman, so it does, I'll have room. So
Oh. Why are we friends?
I don't know. It's
Well,
not because you're good taste, that's for sure.
ooh, dude, hurt.
I know.
Thank
I know.
you. But here's a team up that I think that you and I would agree is a good one. Uh, Pete Tomasi and Doug Monk on Detective Comics, starting at issue 994, and more importantly, this being Detective Comics, apparently this is going to be a detective story.
Good. So are they? I mean, so they announced that. Does that mean they're gonna be the creative team on the book for a while? I'm just curious because they kind of
Yeah,
announced because they kind of made the announcement that made it sound like who is it? Is it Hill? Who's writing Detective Comics right now? When they talked about
James
him
Tynan.
taking over, no,
No, he's
James
not on
is
there. You're
another
right.
book.
That's
It's
right.
Hill or
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yes.
is it Hill? I can't remember the name off the top of my head. Because when they announced that he was taking over the book, they made it sound like he was taking over the book. For me, when you say taking over the book, that means you have a long-term plan to be on the book for you know a long time. I guess maybe that is a long time. When does the Tomasi thing start? In December? Do we know?
All I know is it starts with issue 994. What issue are we on now?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes out so often that I can't keep track of the numbers on it. Um, so maybe that is quite a ways from now still. So maybe that is him being on the book for a long time because it's 2 issues a month, kind of a deal. I don't know. I'm excited for it. I like Tomasi's writing. Um, I think he's always strong when he's with Gleason. But I have been enjoying. I used to not be a very big fan of um, Doug Mankey, but I like him now because he has somebody else inking him. When he inks himself, I do not enjoy his art that much,
Mm-hmm.
but they've got an inker for him now, and the person that's inking him, I think has his work is a lot stronger for me. So that's a good combination. And when they say detective story, I'm cool. I'm curious what that is. Does that mean it's going to be
Oh,
just be a
sure.
Batman story, or is it going to be still this whole group of people, or what? But
Yeah. No, yeah, I don't have the
yeah,
details on that. Just so
yeah.
you know, everyone knows, Detective Comics, the issues that have been solicited in the July previews are for 988 and 989.
Oh,
So we are 5 issues away from uh, that that
right.
that that
Okay.
that difference. Oh, it's James Robinson that's on. this story in the 2 issues and previews, Travis.
So
Arc
Hill is
just written by James Robinson. So
Hill
a
is already off.
fill-in story.
So he's already off. See, he wasn't on very long, but they made it sound like he was going to be on. That they'd be on it for a long time. So that's why I'm just curious as to.
Yeah, and I imagine the Tomasi Monk run on this, because 994, that's only 6 issues before we get to Detective Comics 1000. So I imagine that's gonna, or at least they'll probably do a 5-issue arc, and then they'll have the big, 1000 issue.
Yeah,
similar to what Action Comics did.
Yeah. I'm looking to see who it is that's on the book right now. That's driving me crazy.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I agree with you about Doug Monk's work. I took me a while to appreciate his work.
It's Brian Hill who's on
Brian
the book
Hill.
right
Okay.
Now. Okay, I was right.
But yeah, it took me a little while to start appreciating Doug Monk's work. It's a bit stylized in his facial features and the heavy inks and all that kind of stuff. But it grew on me. I really like his work now. I'm excited to see those two work together. And then next we have Travis. Did you read Marvel Knights back in the day?
No, not back in not back in the day. I mean, I've picked up stuff since then and read bits and pieces, but no, that was that. I think most of the Marvel Knights stuff came out during that span of I have children and bills that sucked up my comic book money, so I wasn't reading books at the time. So
that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure because you actually had recommended. I thought you had recommended something to me that was in the Marvel Comics or Marvel Knights line, a trade of something having to do with Spider-Man. Well,
see, but here, like a year or two ago, Marvel did a Marvel Knights thing again, but the stories were really weird. So that was
or was it the Marvel the noir stuff? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Well, no. Well, one of them was a noir. The X-Men one was a noir type story, but the Spider-Man wasn't. But I'm trying to remember who was on the art. The art was just amazing on that. And then there was a Hulk one that was kind of set in kind of a weird future where the Hulk had destroyed a huge portion of the world and whatnot. So they were just really strange stories. Whereas most of the Marvel Knight stuff is just kind of like more of a hardcore kind of a version of the Marvel Universe, right? Back in the 90s.
Hardcore street level type stuff.
Right. This stuff was, they were using the title Marvel Knights, but it was more kind of like if you were telling a Spider-Man story that was set in the outer limits, as opposed to being the street level kind of a thing. So they were using the window dressing, but it wasn't hearkening back to what those original Marvel Knights is. And I'm assuming that the Donny Cates stuff is going to hearken back to the original Marvel Knights stuff, right?
That's my assumption as well. Yeah. So we kind of buried the lead there, but Donny Cates is kind of overseeing that, where Joe Quesada did so. Late 90s, 98, I want to say. Am I getting the time wrong?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So that's coming back. And I was only involved in any of the Marvel Knights stuff because I was getting the Daredevil trades that Brian Michael Bendis was writing.
Yeah. Excellent stuff.
Yeah. The next couple of things I have on here, Travis, we'd already mentioned, but I did not realize that they were part of a previously announced thing,
right? Well, but they went into detail. They went into detail at San Diego Comic-Con.
That's true.
Versus just a kind of
a. So Second Coming, which is the next two things are from Vertigo, which we already talked about. But Second Coming, Mark Russell is the writer. He pitched it as Jesus and a superhero living in a 2-bedroom apartment. Mark says it's his critique of the superhero genre as Jesus is sent back to Earth by God to learn from a modern-day superhero, but the superhero will learn empathy from Jesus, turning the tables on that plan. Which I have to say, Travis, is probably not the best elevator pitch for this comic, from my perspective.
I don't know. It sounds like fun to me.
Well, I mean, yes, it does, but what I just read.
Oh no, that's a horrible. Yeah,
that is just not a good. Yeah, that's. But you know, some of this stuff is just them talking off the cuff during the panels. So
sure.
I'm sure the official pitch was probably a lot better than that.
Right.
And then and we've seen. I saw some preview images on that too on the Vertigo announcement page that I saw, where you have that's just this generic superhero costume guy next to Jesus, which I thought was kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
But then more importantly, the one book out of those Vertigo series, the new Vertigo series that I was interested in was the Ben Blacker and Mirka Andolfo's Hex Wives. This is a quote. This series explores the terrible things men do to women, sometimes without even realizing. And I thought, well, and then Mr. Blacker talked about how there's a lot of women involved in the production of this book to help keep him.
Yeah, because I mean, that's my first thought is how the hell does to be genuine, how does a guy write that?
Yeah, it's a little tricky on this one. But yeah, that's putting it mildly, you might say.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess. I mean, well, clearly one of the creators isn't a guy. The artist isn't a guy.
Right.
So I mean, there's that. So I'm hoping that person keeps him in check.
Yes.
And I hope they list. I hope they credit his if he has, what do you want to call them? Experts, the people that are keeping him in line. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
I hope they credit them because I'm just saying, if I'm writing something that has to do with some perspective on how women are treated or whatever, I probably better use somebody besides my wife. As I don't know. To me, that doesn't seem like I mean, I don't know.
That's okay. Yeah, but we should say keep him in line. It's not like he's writing this I don't know misogynistic story. It's actually from my understanding quite the reverse. It's like he's addressing those things. But yeah, like you say, it's
you're still on. There's no way you aren't on the outside.
Yeah.
I mean, unless he was another gender at some point in their life, and I don't know him to know, but you're not going to have that perspective. Not really. You can guess, but yeah. Interesting. I'll be getting it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I pick up all the Vertigo stuff at least initially just to try it out. So.
Well, and if DCB Service does their
exactly get it at half price. So.
Well, yeah. What do they call those?
They're bundled. They're bundles.
Thank you. Yeah. The word escaped me. Okay, and then finally, I have in my list for San Diego Comic-Con. Like I said, this is stuff that I found late Saturday night. But I didn't see a whole lot of comic book related news coming out of San Diego on Saturday. I saw a lot of trailers. A lot of media stuff.
I think Saturday is when I heard about the other. The Luke Cage and Iron Fist being digitally produced first, and then we talked about that already. But yeah.
But we have this is from Marvel. The Vision is coming back, which is interesting. I mean, what they waited. I don't know. I want to say has it been a year? Not even a year since Tom King did his. Tom King and man, I'm blanking on the artist.
Wanda. Is it Wanda?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been at least a year, hasn't it?
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, Chelsea Kane is going to be writing it along with Mark Moen. These other people. I don't know which one's the artist. Odd Coke. Covers by Marcos Martin.
Coke's the artist.
Is it okay? Yeah, that's what I thought. They're basically two writers and then an artist, right? Which is interesting. But Chelsea Kane, I really liked her Mockingbird series, and so I'm really curious what she will do with the Vision. Plus, the Vision is just one of my
it's taking over. It is literally taking over from King's Run. It is the Vision, V, and Sparky or Sparks, whatever the dog's name is, the green Airedale, picking up the pieces of what happened in the last. I don't know how I feel about that.
Right. You want that story to be kind of its own thing?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, or if the, it's, or if the original creators thought there was more story they wanted to tell. I don't know. It just seems, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it because I really like that. I'm curious to see what somebody else might do with that setting. And it's not like they're going to destroy what the Vision, what that was or anything like that. But it just seems strange because that did feel like it was such its own. As somebody who thinks they can write occasionally, would not want to take on the next story based on what King produced. Just saying.
Yeah.
But I'm curious because I'm just curious as to what you're going to do. What are you going to do with the pieces that are left over after that was all said and done?
Yeah, but I think Chelsea Kane is up for the challenge.
I think it's brave of her to come back and do another Marvel book. Just saying.
Oh yeah, considering.
And she turned her Twitter back on and has been promoting the book. So, I mean, I just think it's interesting because it seemed to me like she felt like Marvel as a company didn't do a whole lot to help her with as a freelance person, the level of abuse that she took. She felt like that was the impression I got, that she was not getting the support. She even had a few words with Bendis, and they're friends. Because Bendis was kind of like, you just need to kind of roll with this, and she's like, nah. Yeah. So
yeah, I missed that. I know about that.
Yeah, oh yeah, the dark side of social media and all the jackasses that use it. But yeah, so I'm gonna check it out because I'm curious. I'm curious to see what's next one. But part of me is like, oh boy, I don't know.
Well, like I was about to say, the Vision is one of my absolute favorite Marvel characters. So anytime he's spotlighted in something like this, I got to pay attention to it. And given it's Chelsea Kane writing, it's like, this is a no brainer to get.
Yeah.
And Travis, that's all I have for San Diego Comic-Con. Do you have anything else that you wanted to throw our way?
No, nothing I can think of. Like we've touched everything that kind of caught my eye. So,
do you want to talk Eisners since they did the Eisner Awards also this weekend?
Sure, we can do that.
Well, again, Travis and I talked about the Eisners in the previous Breaking Late News episode, and now we have the results, which were interesting.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised that some of the stuff that won.
Well, let's just jump around. We'll go throw it out there. Okay. What's the thing that is sticking in your craw?
Sticking in my craw? Well, I just think it's ultimately funny. When we talked about this last time, I kind of brought up the fact that the coloring category was kind of wonky in a lot of people's opinion, or at least the colorists that's their profession, is just coloring work, was the fact there was only one, what they considered a colorist in the category. And of course that colorist did not win the category. So I don't know. I think that just kind of tends to point out greater that maybe there needs to be another category that encompasses both people who do their own books and those that
focus on in that
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And what one was Emily Ferris's My Favorite Thing is Monsters, which is a fine book, but I wasn't particularly impressed with it. I still think Dave Stewart should have won, but I think Dave Stewart should win most years because of all the stuff he does. and he changes his, he really does have a different style depending on who and what it is that he's coloring. He matches up to what's going on. It's not like I color this way and that's just it. So, whereas some of those other people that are on that list, I would question what would it look like if they just colored somebody else's work. And I see them coloring it like they color everything, not coloring it like maybe how they would need to approach somebody else's work coloring it. But yeah, I guess the big thing I thought was one of the things I thought was interesting and notable, solely because I was surprised that it's taken this long. So the best writer was actually a tie between Tom King and his laundry list of stuff that he's written this last year, and Marjorie Liu for Monstrous.
Right.
And so Marjorie Liu is the first woman to win a Eisner for writing.
Right.
I just found it surprising.
I know. I was when I saw her tweeting about that, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That is just wrong that she's the first one. I mean, it's great that she is, but it's just like, why hasn't this happened before?
Well, that's why I still stop. I mean, I look at the Eisners, I pay attention to what's on the Eisners, but it's not like I'm like, I follow it and I dedicate it to memory and whatnot. I just have a hard time imagining it. There weren't great works written by other women writers,
but recognized for it. Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, so that was kind of shockingly strange to me.
And aren't the Eisners voted on by
peers?
Peers, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah. I was surprised also that Monstrous won as many categories as it did. Do you read that book?
I have read the first volume.
Okay.
And I quite enjoyed it. It's a lovely book.
I read it in singles, and I will admit it is hard to read in single issue. It really is. It is. I really enjoy the book. I love the art. The setting's really interesting. Like I said, the art, the eye candy of it, the characters, the backgrounds, the monsters, it's all really cool. But it's definitely a book to read in trade, as far as I think you get the best enjoyment out of it and whatnot. I was just surprised that it won as many as it did. Like, I mean, to me, I enjoy that book, but best ongoing, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. So best ongoing, best writer, and then the artist won something too. Best cover artist.
Best cover artist, and didn't
best
they also
painter.
win? Yeah.
For interior multimedia artist for interior art. Yeah. Wow.
Right.
I mean, deservedly so.
Oh yeah.
Just from my perspective, based on the first volume, but
right. But for me, I guess if I'm looking at it in singles kind of a thing, and best publication for teens, it also won best publication for teen also.
Oh, did it? I missed that.
Yeah, 13 to 17. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is the perfect age group for the book. It really is, because it has kind of a manga-esque tint to it, that kind of a feel to parts of it. So yeah.
So was there anything in here, anything else that surprised you or outraged you or?
Nothing that, no, there was anything that outraged me and whatnot. I was really happy to see Black Bolt. I was really happy to see Black Bolt win. Anybody who slept on that book, this is just one more, in my opinion, earmark to tell you that you should go pick it up in trades and read it.
You're talking about this is best limited series?
Yes.
Is that the one? Yeah.
It's best new series.
No.
Best new series.
Yeah, best new series, and then Black Panther: World of Wakanda won best limited series.
Right, which I haven't read that, so I still think Flintstone should have won. But I say that having not read Black Panther. But yeah, no, I mean, everything else. I mean, so much of this I've read everything. I like everything that's on the lists of a lot of these stuff. So one winning over another, that's fine. I'll be checking out some of the winners of some of the other things, just to see what as an indicator as to what people thought was good or whatnot. like the best adaptation, the Kindred, which is an Octavia Butler story. I want to check that out. I like Octavia Butler, so a comic book version of one of her books, that would be something to check out and whatnot. But yeah.
I was very pleased to see that my pick for something that I did not read at all won.
What was that?
It was hold on. Oh gosh, I just had it. Stupid that I move away from it. Oh, here it is. Best anthology. Elements, yeah. Fire, a comic anthology by creators of color. Remember, I talked about that on our previous episodes. Like, just based on the title alone, it seemed like something that I would like. Mm-hmm. So it won best anthology. Mitch Gerrard's won for best penciler / inker. Mm-hmm. I think
for Mr. Miracle. Yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Mr. Miracle. I think we mentioned that last time. Mm-hmm.
And all kinds of cool people were inducted into the Eisner Hall of Fame this year. Karen Berger finally gets in. Dave Gibbons.
I saw Dave. Yeah, I saw the Dave Gibbons one.
Yeah. Did you see the picture of Tom King, Fitzgerald's, and Dave Gibbons that Tom King posted on his Twitter feed? It's pretty funny because he posted it, but he hand drew in a 9-panel grid, so their faces are all in the 9. Because of course, Tom King uses a 9-panel grid all the time, kind of a thing, and they're always talking about how they ripped it off from Dave Gibbons, and of course Dave Gibbons says, I stole it from blah blah blah. But I think it's funny because they're so known for that 9-panel grid that sounds
That's funny. Awesome. That's awesome. All right, I think that's it. I don't have anything else I wanted to point out there. I take it you're not gonna run out and read the best digital comic winner, Harvey Kurtzman's Marley's Ghost by Harvey Kurtzman and others.
Yeah, probably not. Probably give that a miss. Sorry.
Yeah, interesting stuff out there. I mean, there's so many categories in the Eisner Awards. And we talked about this last time, but so many categories of things that I've never heard of.
Right.
Either comics themselves or things about comics. Mm-hmm. So it's like there's I feel, or I kind of feel like I try to take in a wide range of things in the comic book world. I know I have my DC bias. I understand that, but and then I read lists like this and I realize, it's just this really thin sliver that I'm actually.
Exactly. You thought you were a Renaissance man of comics, and you realize, no, that's not really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Boy, and if I consider myself a Renaissance man, what does that make you? Because you read a lot more diverse stuff than I do. So
yeah, but still, there's just so much out there. That's a full-time job that somebody needs to pay me to do, and then that'd be awesome.
I know, right? Podcasting and reading comics. That's all I want to do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Travis, I think we're done. I have no other breaking late news to discuss. I'm sure there's some things that have come out of San Diego Comic-Con. Saturday that I missed, definitely Sunday today that I've missed. So if there's anything major like that, I'll add it to the list. We'll talk about it next time, whenever that happens to be. And then whatever else Travis would like to bring to the mix.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else, Travis?
Nope.
All right, and if the fine viewers here on Google Hangouts or the listeners in the podcast feed have anything they want to add to the mix as well, their viewpoints on the things we brought up or other news that we haven't talked about that perhaps they would like our comments on, we would gladly give you our opinions about various things because we like to do that here. So they can always do that by contacting you, Travis. How?
You can contact me through YouTube, Oddfellows Thoughts. Easiest place to, or oddfellowsthoughts at gmail.com for that matter.
There you go. And as always, people can contact me by emailing me at longboxreview@gmail.com, on Twitter at longboxreview, and also at the blog longboxreview.com. And also for the the YouTubers out there, Longbox Review on YouTube. You can go and watch this live recording. It won't be live then, but it's that magic little thing. So that you can go there and leave comments there as well. Thanks for Carlos and Roger for commenting in the chat today, or at least saying hello. And anybody who has been watching all along as we've been talking about breaking late news. And we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.